Hello, welcome. I'm Hannah, and today I wanted to do a highlighter collection video. I have one other of these on my channel, but I filmed it like a year and a half ago, so I thought enough time has passed and I want to see what I have, go through them, do swatches, comparisons. I have a couple I want to declutter, and also towards the end I have a couple other cheek products that I want to declutter also, and I figured we might as well stick it in this video. Before we get started, I have kind of a random shout out I want to do. Chloe Enchanted, I love her channel. You know, some people, I just love the way that they talk about makeup and the ownership of makeup. I love her thoughts on her curated collection, and I know that every time she reviews a product, it's going through the lens of trying to keep a small collection. I find myself sometimes relating to her thoughts, sometimes inspired by her thoughts. She is so pleasant and calm, but also like fun and a little goofy at the same time. And I just really love her vibe. As I'm filming this, she is 22 subscribers away from 1,000, and I would really love to see her have 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So I think if you haven't checked out her channel, I think if you do, you'll like it. I'm gonna link some of my favorite videos of hers down below. But yeah, it would be really cool if we could help her reach that milestone, because I think she deserves 1,000 and way more. Now on to the content of the video. I feel like I recently went through kind of a lull of not being excited about highlighters, and I think I have to blame for that something that I recently panned, which we'll get to a little bit later, but the highlighter that kind of reinvigorated my enjoyment of shiny cheeks is this one from Cover of X. I actually talked about it a little more in depth in the video that I think I posted yesterday. It's coming tomorrow. So if you want to hear a little more about it, I recommend checking out my favorite non-single shadow products of 2022. I don't know what I'm naming that one yet, but something along those lines, because I apply it in that video. But yeah, it's the Custom Enhancer palette. It came out a couple years ago, but I bought it this year because it was on sale at the BoxyCharm sale for like $9, and I'm so happy that I did. The only one that really works for me for my cheeks is this one in the middle, but I'm okay with having these guys like along for the ride because I love this middle one so much. So let's do a little swatch. I guess I'll swatch the other ones also, although they don't work for me for my cheeks. Maybe this will be helpful for someone else. So there's my guy that I love so much, and it does look like it would almost be too dark for me, but it really blends in perfectly with my skin tone, which is what I think I like about it so much. I'm pretty strict about what I'll put on my cheeks nowadays, because I just feel like if it's even a little bit too dark, it just makes my cheeks look muddy, you know? It doesn't look good. And once you have that like perfect shade of highlighter, you're set. I don't think people need huge collections of highlighters. I mean, of course, do whatever makes you happy. I'm not the makeup owning police, but I think you can have all of your bases covered with just a few products if they're in like the right shade for you, you know? So I'm kind of like morally opposed to highlighting palettes because I don't know if there's really any skin tone out there that can get good use out of all three of these. And if I'm buying a highlighting palette, I don't want to be like, oh, I'll use it on my eyes, because I have so many beautiful eyeshadows to use on my eyes already, you know? Let me know if you have different thoughts than me about highlighting palettes, but that's what I feel. But I love this one enough that like if I were to lose this, I would spend full price to get this back. I really, really like it. The other highlighting product that I've really been loving recently is an oldie. It's Becca, who's now out of business, and it's their highlighter in the shade Moonstone. Actually, in the last highlighting collection video that I did, which I don't remember when exactly I posted it, because I remember I had some last year that I posted way late, but I know I filmed it around April of last year. And at that time, Becca was in the process of going out of business, and I had just about used up the Moonstone that I had at the time. And I was saying that I didn't think I was going to go and buy like a backup of it, just because I'd be prolonging the experience of not having it anymore. But then sometime after that, I saw it on sale for half price, and I bought it, and it's been sitting in my makeup collection as a backup for a while. But after I used up some recent highlighters, I was like, I think now is the time. And using it again after not using it for like a year or so, I'm just reminded about how good it is. I know that Smashbox is still selling some Becca products, the highlighter being one of them. I don't have a ton of information about that, if they like change the formula, if there's anything that's really different, but I hope not, because I love this one so much. It's kind of like my go-to. I feel like this Cover FX one, I mean, you could even see in the swatches, they're similar colors, but the Cover FX one has a little bit more impact. I feel like it's like a wearable metallic on my cheeks, and the Moonstone one is super pretty, but a little bit more dialed down, a little bit more like glow from within. I guess I'll now talk about the empty one that I've been alluding to, because it's kind of been like a main character in my highlight collection for a little while. It's the Mary Luminizer from the Balm. It's a little mini one that I guess technically if I really wanted to scrape up more, it still has like a little bit of powder coming off of it, but I don't want to scrape up more. I'm so sick of this. I was operating feeling like it was a pretty suitable comparison to Becca Moonstone, and now that I've gone back to Moonstone, I realize that it wasn't. Like, it's not bad, it's just Moonstone is the perfect amount of subtlety, and this is a similar shade, but just a little bit more subtle. It has like a little bit less luminosity to it, and just kind of sits on my face like a champagne powder, like powder meaning like a face powder, not like a shimmery powder. And it doesn't do that much. I don't know. I got really sick of this towards the end, but I persevered and I used it up. But I do kind of feel like I might have been better just decluttering it. I don't know if that swatch was that great because there isn't that much in the pan, but hopefully you can kind of get a little vision that it's just like there's a little bit less shimmer in the particles in this one than there is in this one. This one is kind of new to me and I'm still trying to kind of get my bearings around it. It's the highlighter from Kaja. It's the Bouncy Blendable Highlighter in the shade Toy Alien. I've been eyeing this on the Sephora website for a long time. It looked like a really good shade to me, and the name, Toy Alien, that appealed to me so much, and I can't even explain why. I've had this for maybe like a month now, and I don't love it. I don't dislike it, but I've just been more inclined to reach for my Cover FX and my Becca one than this. But I mean, looking at the swatch, that does look pretty. It looks and feels a little bit creamier than the Becca one, which is this one here. I know it's hard to tell when I'm swatching things that are so close to my skin tone, but I'll try to remember which each of them are and remind you when I need to. But yeah, maybe I just need to figure out the best application because I've been picking it up with a brush. I don't know if you can tell, but I feel like the brush like up top has been kind of like disturbing the powder a little bit. And when I smeared my finger in the middle, it smoothed it out. So maybe it's just best used with a finger and that's how I should go about it. I don't know, definitely need to work on furthering my relationship with this one. You know, I'm not totally sold on it yet, but I don't dislike it. Next I have this Hourglass palette that has dust on it, but I swear it hasn't been that long since I've used it. It's the Ambient Lighting Edit Mini. I got this around Christmas a couple years ago, and it has the metallic strobe powder in Champagne Strobe Light in it. I've said before, this is kind of like my go-to cheek palette if I want to make sure I'll look good in person, which generally is my main priority. But like if I'm going somewhere with like family or my boyfriend's family, people I want to impress and I don't want to have to like worry about my cheeks possibly looking muddy, I'll go with this. And this highlighter is like a very kind of like natural sink into your skin. I mean, you can tell it's very similar to the other ones. And maybe even it's most similar to Toy Alien, especially in feel. It kind of felt smooth like Toy Alien. But the color is also similar to the Mary Luminizer. Interesting. But I think it does have that like extra oomph that I need that I didn't really feel in the Mary Luminizer. This next one is from Glam. It's the Michaela and Glam pressed highlighter. I don't know if it has a shade name because I think this was the only one that was released then, but I bought this at the same time that I bought her first palette in 2021 because she was saying how she wanted a highlighter that was light enough for her. I also have a light skin tone and I'm scared of highlighters that are too deep for me. So I bought this, but I've just never liked it that much. This one comes up a little bit too icy for me. I do like the finish of it. It has like this like pretty shimmery look to it, but that's how particular I am with my highlighters now, that like this just feels a touch too light. And on top of that, I don't like the packaging. I bought this and the palette despite not being like a Michaela fan. I think at the time I was completely neutral about her. And now I think my opinion is like a little bit more negative than neutral. I don't, you know, she's not someone I really keep up with. I don't care about her that much, but I do think she like uses filters and pretends she doesn't and stuff like that. And I don't know, it gives me bad vibes. And the packaging of it is just kind of like cardboard, unspecial. I don't know. I'm going to declutter this one. Next is the Milk Makeup Highlighter. This is the Flex Highlighter in Iced. I don't know if this was the one that everyone loved. In fact, I think the one that everyone loved was the shade Lit. I bought this in 2020 and it was around Christmas. I had gone on their website and I put it in my cart to see how much shipping was, and then I accidentally purchased it. I like tried to get out of it, but I like pressed the side button, which like confirmed the Apple Pay or something. So I just went along with it. I've had it since then, and it's just never really excited me. I think it's like a touch too deep. It's funny comparing this because they really do all look the same, or even some of them look a little bit deeper than this one. But that's just like what I felt about it on my face. I don't love it. Doesn't excite me. I'm gonna declutter this one too. I do prefer to have a smaller collection of things like face products so that I can just focus on using the ones that I love, like Becca Moonstone and that Cover FX one. Next, I have the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. This is a mini one that I remember I bought at Nordstrom for like $30 because I had always lusted after the big one, but never wanted to spend like the $79 or whatever it was. So I got this and I never used it up until this year. And I really only started using it because I panned my one and only bronzer, like single bronzer that I have, which I'll actually show you a little bit later. But I've moved on to using this as my bronzer. I am not that excited about it, and I hope that in 2023 I'll use it up and I'll get rid of this and the highlighter will go along with that. This is not a very exciting highlighter to me. I would imagine Charlotte Tilbury putting out one of those like beautiful lit from within Hourglass type of highlighters, but this one just doesn't do anything for me. I think this one has like very, very little glow to it, and it just looks like a beige, possibly satin eyeshadow. So this is just kind of like an honorary highlighter. Like I'm showing it to you because it's called a highlighter and I have it, but it's not something that I reach for or plan to use. Next up, I have two quads from Colourpop. I'm not really loving Colourpop at the moment, but I have these, so I'll show them to you. I have this cheek palette. It's the Sugar Frosted Cheek Palette, and I really like it. The blushes are good colors for me, and it's like a super shock highlight that I apply with my finger, and it has like a red iridescence to it. I guess you can't really see that well in this light, but I think that's also the thing that makes it so nice, that it's not so obvious. This is actually what I have on my face today, but I don't think you can tell on my face either, huh? But I think that's what makes it work. Because other highlighters that I've tried that are clearly an iridescent color, I find for me, for everyday life, out and about, it's like a little bit too unnatural on my face. And that's kind of like my vibe. Like I like skin to look a little bit more natural, and then I will be out there with my eyes. But yeah, this highlighter kind of gives me like just like a little step in a fun direction without being too unnatural. Because I like that one so much, I bought this one a couple months ago. It's the Midas Shell Super Shock Highlighter Palette. It has more colorful shades in it, and this I haven't quite figured out yet which ones I like or don't like. I know I used one of these once and it looked too silvery. I don't know if it was this light one or the lavender one, but overall I don't like these as much as I like the other one. That pink one feels a lot more hard pressed, and that purple one too. The two on top though felt a lot more kind of gummy. I'm gonna start swatching on the inside. I would say that first one, I like the look of it. It kind of reminds me of the Cover FX one that I like. This one here. You see that? Yeah, I don't know. So this one, I don't love it, but I'm not looking to get rid of it either. My only other Colourpop highlight is super old. It's the Luster Dust in the shade Nomi. This has got to be from like 2017 maybe. It's just this highlighting powder, and I've kept it this long because it is pretty. It has a nice like glittery finish, and I thought I was going to end up keeping it longer. Oh, spoiler alert, I'm gonna declutter it. But the last time I used it, I just felt like it gave me a little bit of that like dark cast on my cheeks, and swatching it here I can really tell why I would think that. It does look significantly darker than my skin tone. So it is a pretty finish, but I never reach for a powder highlight. They're just kind of like inconvenient, and especially with the color not working, it's out of here. And either way, like the whole idea of it, the whole packaging, the color of the mint, none of it gives me joy. I have the Becca and Jaclyn Hill palette from a long time ago. I'm probably going to talk about this more whenever I end up doing a video about like my nostalgic makeup, because I do kind of consider it that, even though it is still out of my desk because I feel like I might use it. It's not so old that I'm disgusted by it, would never put it near my face, but it's also not something that feels current in any possible way. It has the shades Pearl, Champagne Pop, and Blushing Copper, and you can see I've made quite a dent in the two of those. Blushing Copper is certainly too deep for me. There's Blushing Copper, oh yeah. But Champagne Pop is also too deep for me. And you can see it's kind of similar in depth to this Colourpop one here, but a lot more like yellowy. And then Pearl is just, oh, wrong finger, sorry. There's Pearl. That one's just so starkly white. So the way that I've been using this palette and used it enough to hit pan is just by kind of like dipping into Pearl, dipping into Champagne Pop, maybe dipping back to try to mix them a little bit, and then putting the combination on my cheeks. But that doesn't make me happy. I don't love it. And I feel like when you're mixing like that, you're bound to get kind of like inconsistent cheeks. I'm not a makeup perfectionist. It's not the biggest deal to me, but like, what's the point, you know? So I don't know. I'm gonna hold on to it for now. We'll talk about it more when we talk about nostalgic makeup, but it's not something that I'm really actively reaching for. I have one last powder until we get onto the cream/liquid products, and then the kind of like random cheeks bits and bobs. So it's the e.l.f. Bite Size Duo in Cantaloupe. I really like this blush formula. In fact, I just re-got the Spiced Apple one for Christmas. The Spiced Apple one, the highlight is way too deep for me to think of as a highlight, but this is the one out of all of the ones of this that I've had that works mostly for me as a highlight. It doesn't excite me. This was never something, I think I might have already said this, this was never something I looked at as a duo cheek product. It was just always about the blush. And this blush isn't something that I want to use anymore. It's just way too like yellowy orange for me. I remember years ago thinking it looked kind of funny. My mom pointed out to me once that it looked like a weird color on my face, and I used it kind of recently and I was like, yeah, this looks odd. I just don't like the effect of it on me. So this highlighter's gonna go because its selling point was never about it, you know? Yeah, it's nice, but not enough that, you know, I want to keep it. I think I have 3 cream products and 2 that we'd call liquid. 2 of the cream products are these highlighting sticks from Merit. highlighting balm, to be more specific. I've had the Kava shade since May. Both of these I got in PR. And then this Bounce one I got just a couple weeks ago with their Lafitte edition collection that I did a video with. The shade Kava is definitely the one that's best suited for my skin tone. It's like a very light sparkle. Where can I swatch? We're just gonna swatch wherever. This is the shade Kava. It's like a pretty light champagne glow. I think both of these don't have a strong base, so they work for more skin tones than you might think from initially looking at them, but I do think Kava is the one that's best suited for my skin tone. I used Bounce in that video, and I do like it, but I think it would be better for someone with more of like a light to medium skin tone. I am going to hold on to both of them because I really like them. I especially like them when I'm not wearing a lot of makeup. It's kind of like the bring on vacation, throw in your bag, toss on, doesn't even look like you're wearing makeup kind of makeup. And I think Bounce might be the shade that I bring with me when I go somewhere warm and I do like a little like tanning lotion before I go. I think this one will be perfect. And then the other cream product that I have is this e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek. There's this one that's kind of like a clear type of balm, and I do often forget about this palette, but I really like it. Yeah, you can see it's like really just like wetness to it, but it doesn't have the sparkles in it that the Merit ones do. I don't know, kind of an interesting product. This one is another one that like, it's about the blush in this, and the highlighter is just along for the ride. Maybe I'll use it here and there, but not so much. Then I have this liquid one from Fenty. It's the Liquid Kilowatt Fluid Freestyle Highlighter in the shade Side Chick. I actually did do a whole video with this where I used it as a highlight and I used it as a primer. And I think in that video I liked it, but I wasn't totally sold. And after I used that, I didn't reach for this product for a while. And then like, I don't know, a couple months later, I can't even remember when that video happened. That might have been like early 2021. I reached for it again and I was like, I really like it. I know it's hard to see the swatch, but this is just kind of like a light whitish glitter finish. I'm gonna do a little bit more. There's a very heavy swatch so you can see. It is a very light color, but I find that when I just use a little bit of it, it doesn't come out stark on me. And it just has like a pretty more glittery finish. And then I have the Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glow in the shade Crystal Nebula. This is a product that I don't use that much. It smells a little not gorgeous. But I feel like this, to me, in my collection, keeps me from wanting a product like Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. Because it's just that same kind of thing, that same kind of like, I don't know, pretty shimmery liquid. You could use it under your makeup, you could use it over your makeup. I just don't reach for it that much, but I have it. I actually do have one more product that fits into the liquid category that I almost forgot about. It's Glossier Future Dew. I've had this for a couple years. I think I must have gotten this in 2020. And like, I want to be a Future Dew girl. I want to just like use this oil serum hybrid on my face. I don't know doing what, but I never reach for it. It's kind of the product that like the times that I've used it, I've tried to incorporate it because I have it, but I've never like wanted to use it. I've never been like, ooh, this will be perfect for my Future Dew, you know? So I've mixed it in before with foundations and I feel like it just makes my foundations a little bit more like serum-y. And I've used it as a highlight and it just makes my cheeks a little bit more sticky. And that's really the thing about this that makes it like whatever the opposite of like a selling point is for me. I just don't like it. I don't like things on my face that stay tacky. And I feel like the fantasy I had for this can be accomplished with the Merit balms or with that e.l.f. balm. Really, any of the liquid highlighters would do what I want this to be, but in a way that's more like cosmetically elegant. Okay, on to the random bits and bobs category. I can't stop saying that. I don't know why. I have two blushes that I forgot about when I did my blush collection and slight declutter video a couple months ago. And one of them is this Kaja one. It's the shade Koi. It's like their big chunky stamp blush that has a big heart stamp up top for some reason. Like, this product could be this big, but instead it's this big. I do really like the color of this, so that kind of makes it sad to give up, but I hope they'll just like release a line of like more normal blushes sometime. I'm not into like the sponge finish, and I'm not into the stamp thing. I'm not into the bulky packaging that doesn't fit with my other blushes. And then I have this little tiny one from Rare Beauty. It's a sample of their blush. I don't even know what shade it's in, but I have one of their full-size blushes. I have the shade Hope. Hope is a better color for me. This little mini one is too bright of a pink. And even this like big one, I'm not the biggest fan of the formula anyway. It's so intensely pigmented that you have to use the tiniest bit. And I just don't enjoy makeup so much that I have to be so delicate with. So especially because I'm not the biggest fan of the one that I have a big size of, I don't want this little dinky one that I also don't like the color much. Oh, that one kind of blended away to nothing. But I promise you, these have a reputation. They're intense. In the spirit of bright pink blushes, I'm going to declutter this Patrick Ta one in She's That Girl. I always just thought of this as kind of like a cool girl product, and I liked it for that reason, but there just wasn't a good shade for me in this original launch that they had, so I bought a shade that wasn't the right shade for me, and I use it occasionally. I liked it occasionally, but I feel like blush is another category that I'm kind of getting more narrow with my scope of what I enjoy, and I don't want a bright pink blush that I get myself to use on the premise of, oh, I haven't used that in a while, you know? I'd rather just keep a smaller collection of blushes, of highlighters, of all of it that I can know well and enjoy a lot. I completely used up this Colourpop blush. It's the shade Kiss and Tell. It's one of their heart blushes. I got this one maybe like 2 years ago or something like that, and it was the blush that I used most for a long time. I did replace this over the summer. It was when I was placing the order for the highlighting palette, and I needed something else to get free shipping or something like that. So I had a replacement for this before I even finished it. But it's funny because using it now, I don't know if the colors changed or just my preferences are changing, but that one feels a little bit too light for me, that I'm still like using it, especially in person, but I feel like if I come on camera with that on my cheeks, it looks so subtle that, I don't know, I'm not loving it so much anymore. I have Milani Luminoso on my lips today, which I've used in the past, I've panned several times in the past, and I just got a new one for Christmas. And I really love how it looks on my cheeks, both in person and on camera. And then the last product we're going to be discussing is this Too Faced bronzer. It's the Sweetheart Baked Luminous Glow Bronzer. And this, I think I probably got in 2016. There was a long period of time that I just wasn't using bronzer at all, so this just sat there. And I started using it again, I don't know, maybe a year ago or less than a year ago, kind of for the sake of using it up. Sometime during that process, I started enjoying using bronzer again. I'm excited that this is done. I've had it for way too long, and it was getting to the point of just like, I don't know if like people do have skin issues through old makeup powders, but I wouldn't really want to risk getting acne or anything like that over a bronzer that's so old. So yeah, that's fun. I'm happy that it's gone. I'm happy that I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury one now. Hopefully I'll use that up soon, and then I'll actually be able to like pick out a bronzer that sounds good for me for the first time in like 6 years. So these are all of my highlighting products. There's a lot of them. I think of myself as someone that already has a pretty small collection. And I mean, I guess some of these are leaving my collection, but I think that's something I need to remember when I'm being intrigued by new highlighters, that if it's something that's so different than what I already have, maybe that's because it doesn't work for me. And I'm working really hard to get a collection that I love and really works for me. But yeah, that's gonna be everything for today. I hope this was fun to watch. I want to remind you again about checking out Chloe's channel. She doesn't know I'm saying any of this, but it would really make me very happy to see her get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. And thank you so much for being here. Bye.